The main thing I wanted to focus on, though, here, and I'm bummed we don't have Ron on to talk about it, but I'm sure we'll get another crack at this, um, is the culture war. So, as a rule, I'm not super big on talking about it because I think it gives it like almost like Streisand effect of where the more you talk about it, the more we focus on it, and I don't think it's ultimately net good. But I want to talk about it because one, OU is targeted by a major civil rights, I hate to even use that, free speech really, group called FIRE. And I want to kind of unpack this a little bit because I feel like it's something that in the discourse that people don't know. And unfortunately, like, we're pretty quiet out there today due to probably because it's beautiful out and there's so many things and people are getting more offline than online. But I think it'd be good to talk about FIRE for a little bit. So we could probably watch this. It's only 2 minutes. So let's watch what FIRE put out. So anyway, breaking. This was Tuesday at 11 a.m. A recording of an anti-racist rhetoric and pedagogies workshop acquired by FIRE raises alarm bells about the state of free expression and conscience at the University of Oklahoma. So let's watch this. And it's been viewed 300,000 times. So to give you an idea of what FIRE's got, 52,000 followers. So way out exceeding their reach on this one. So
An online workshop at the University of Oklahoma explores how instructors should readjust students' writing if the instructor disagrees with the student's topic or opinion. A workshop leader also credited the Supreme Court for giving instructors the ability to censor.
The Supreme Court has actually upheld that hate speech, derogatory speech, any of the isms do not apply in the classroom because they do not foster a productive learning environment. And so as instructors, we can tell our students, no, you do not have the right to say that. Stop talking right now, right?
The training shows instructors how to steer students away from certain viewpoints, labeling opinions they don't consider appropriate as hate speech.
In this case, I usually look for my students who might be entertaining the idea of listening to a problematic argument. Then I say, we don't have to listen to that.
Demanding ideological uniformity is a violation of students' freedom of expression and freedom of conscience.
One of the fears is that we're going to get in trouble for this, right? Like we can't tell students that they can't say something in class, but we can. And let me tell you how.
Join us in demanding that OU bring its training methods in line with its constitutional obligations. To view the full training and read the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education's analysis, visit thefire.org.
So this sounds super scary. I'm gonna let their thing so you can see what they claim to be about. This sounds super scary, right? Like, it's thought control. We're gonna, tell kids what to think, and we're gonna, abuse their rights. But obviously, this was highly edited, and I want to go back a little bit and just talk about who FIRE is. So FIRE is a combination of the conservative elements of the ACLU, so like the former director of the ACLU who was there for many, many years and kind of I don't know if he got driven out, but he sensed which way the wind was blowing and decided to get out. Big free speech guy. And so him, Ira Glass, and then a bunch of conservative think tank people. So Cato Institute, Heritage Foundation, these are all Koch-backed right-wing ideological groups. That's who makes up FIRE. I mean, that is like at their nexus, it is far-right economic ideologues and free speech advocates. So, I mean, just to start and like set the basic argument about free speech means that you have the right to redress the government. Like the government can't arrest you for saying stuff. That's it. I mean, that is like, the government is not allowed to arrest you for your opinion. Safe ground, we all agree on that. Obviously, there's tons of case law about the limits of that, but like at its base, that's what it's saying. At no point does it say you can't tell someone to shut up. At no point can you not, like, do you not have the freedom to tell somebody that their opinions suck and you think they should go fuck off? Like, none of that. Like, it is purely the government can't arrest you, which is great. Great concept. Totally fine with that. So where these guys, though, are trying to, like, move this conversation, and you know, the ACLU historically is, you know, they've defended Nazis, they defended, you know, but again, in context, like, does a Nazi have a right to go in the public square and shout stuff? Yes, they do. But that's like, you know, that's kind of the widely held ground. These guys are trying to move it more into businesses, classrooms, areas of discussion. And like, I think like even what they cherry picked of this piece was like pretty telling, right? Like what did it start off with? Workshop leader is, the Supreme Court has actually upheld that hate speech, derogatory speech, and any form of isms do not apply in the classroom because they do not foster a productive learning environment. So that's what these guys are fighting against, right? They want us to be able to include hate speech, derogatory speech, and a bunch of isms in the classroom and just do the reverse of that whole statement and foster an unproductive learning environment. I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to be about, but it's like, is that like, do humans learn under those conditions? Like in a condition where one group is getting to be gigantic assholes and can lie, be inaccurate, say derogatory stuff, like, and the other group, of course, operating in what's known as good faith and honest discussion and fair, you know, exchange of ideas, you know, never acts like that. So, like, it's like we need more rights for the people who are going to discriminate and put down and flame their opponents, while the other group operates in this sort of like, well, we've identified the X, Y, and Z problems, and this is the way we see it, a la critical race theory or something like that. And so that's what this is like. To me, that's what this whole argument's coming down to is like you have two sides, basically one side that wants to just troll their way through life, make everything about cultural grievance, about bullshit, about their ability to be an a-hole, while the other group says, hey, we've identified this problem. You know, trans people have 10 times the suicide rate of regular people, or, you know, critical race theory where laws and power structures and whatnot were used to discriminate against people on the basis of their race. And we think we should do something about that. And then you have these other groups out here being like, nah. Like, we just want to give our opinion, no matter how fucked up and wrong it is and stupid. I mean, to me, it's basically like, we got to just rehash every bad idea forever. And I can't get over how pointless and stupid that is. Groups like FIRE really wear me out. I think they operate in complete and utter bad faith. And their whole premise is basically a slippery slope logical fallacy. If we restrict even one iota of speech to allow people to, you know, exchange ideas more freely, to help groups that are typically marginalized by the dominant culture have a space, a voice in the discourse, that if we do that, like suddenly, like we're going to be creating camps and rounding up conservatives and sending them there. Like that's not going to happen. Like the First Amendment will stop that. And so, I mean, that's their whole basis, is like this one giant slippery slope, that if we give in, if we concede even an inch to people that we disagree with, that suddenly, you know, we're never going to be able to have discourse ever again. And like when you start watching too, like these videos of like people showing up at school board meetings, or like the mask, you know, debates at city halls, I mean, it was always driven by the most ridiculous people in our society, like people who have all they can point to is conspiracy theories. All they can point to are like quacks and hacks. And like, we have to endlessly listen to these folks. And I don't think we should have to. Like, I think that's okay. Yeah, exactly. They're restricting my speech. I'm not allowed to talk about how they're being racist. Exactly. And I think they restrict our speech in lots of ways, in the sense that we're not allowed to talk about actual problems. Like, like the way we have to talk about race in this country is so juvenile and absurd. I mean, I didn't get into not even a high level, a medium level of discussion about race until I was probably a junior in college. And then it had to be tiptoed around by a Jewish guy and a black guy in my economics of discrimination course. I mean, they had to like baby step us to be like, you know, maybe people on welfare aren't all lazy, and that there's structural problems in our economy that force people to have to like live, like take state benefits in order to survive. I mean, like, just crazy stuff. And then as you're, you know, graduate into adulthood and read a fucking book for the first time, you're like, or talk to a person that doesn't necessarily look like you, if you came from a affluent, predominantly white community, you're like, holy shit. Like, it's like your eyes have to get like thrown open, instead of being able to just talk about this stuff and like admit that like structures are set up in ways that aren't necessarily good. So anyway, groups like FIRE are real bad. I think they really limit the discourse. I think they are extremely racist groups. And like all this stuff is just a grift.